Pirates guys, thank you for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast, where we talk all about them Pittsburgh Pirates and that. My name is Josh. Today is September 24th. ABS is coming in 2026, and they're not screwing it up. Bucs beat the Reds too. Good morning to those of you who listen in the morning.
Yeah, it is a good morning there, little man.
Good afternoon and evening to everyone else. This Tuesday brought upon an incredible postseason or regular season finish with postseason implications to it. And it was pretty exciting today, starting with the Pirates right in the middle of all of it. With the Reds climbing their way back into a wild card spot. Pirates kind of ruined that for them a little bit tonight. Not entirely yet, but they've got an opportunity to for sure. Happy Skeens Day. Oviedo shines in what I think I heard them calling his last start of the season. I'm not sure who's lined up for Sunday at this point, but I feel like I heard him saying that. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Comment if you think he's got another one. I don't really know. Maybe it's his last start. Maybe somebody else gets a start, but maybe he throws one more time. I'm not really sure. But either way, 4 2/3 innings, and he did not want to come out in the 5th inning there. You like to see the fire there. I have no problem with him kind of throwing a little bit of a fit there. If it is his last outing, then by all means, he wants to finish that inning, and I think it's probably pretty fair if he gets a little bit upset in the moment. It's just not a problem. Anyway, 4 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, just why he was coming out. 7 strikeouts, 3.57 ERA on the season. He struggled with the walks, 3 of them. He walked Friedel there in the 5th. DK made the change. He was at 82 pitches at that point. They could have let him try to go one more, but you're also, you're managing to win a game even though you're at this point. If the Reds are going to make it in the postseason, man, the Pirates owe it to them and everyone else to make them earn it. I do believe that. So, it's good to see them going out there and trying to win, trying to play hard, and making sure that the integrity of that stays intact, because I think it's important. After Moreta got him out of the inning, Flores made the play on a would-be wild pitch to get out of the inning. But the 6th inning started with a Hunter Barco debut. You got to love it. Congratulations to Hunter Barco. He pitched a scoreless 6th inning, not without some hard contact. 2 hits all said, but no walks, no strikeouts, and a scoreless inning as he got the double play to end the inning. Couple ground balls, couple hits. I think the first 4 batters had hard hit balls, whether they were base hits or outs. The ball was hit hard, but he ended up getting the double play to get out of it. Man, I'm such a sucker for debuts. I absolutely love him. He's a major leaguer forever now. You can't take that away. And on top of that, because of the fact that Oviedo did not go 5 innings and Moreta really didn't record an out via pitching, Hunter Barco gets the win. So once again, you know how I feel about pitcher wins. They don't really mean anything. What I mean is they don't mean anything to whether or not the pitcher is good, whether or not the pitcher did his job. Those are straight up. He didn't give up any runs, and he kept the game where it was at. And so he did a good job. Now, you could even go into the whip and say, well, he allowed 2 base runners. You know what I mean? And so you could go into that and say, it was a little bit rough, even though he didn't give up a run. All that is right. The win really doesn't do anything to talk about his outing. However, as Jake points out, and I do agree with it all the time, that first win is big for a player. I don't take anything away from that. Same as the first strikeout, which he hasn't gotten yet. Those things are good. If you can get up to, I say this all the time, like when you talk about a season that a guy had, I don't care about his wins unless he gets close to 20. Once you start getting to those things, you've done a lot to put your team in position to win games. And I will credit somebody for getting to those types of numbers. Anytime you can increase those wins, I credit you. I just don't discredit you for not getting wins. I guess that's just where I'm at, because all of that just depends on your offense. So, but the more wins you have, the more opportunities you gave your team. The less wins you have doesn't mean you didn't give your team an opportunity. So I guess that's where I'm at with it. Rafael Flores, first start as a catcher, 1 for 3 at the plate. Did not hit that home run that I called. We still have 2 more games. I don't know if he'll get to play in both of them or either of them, but he hasn't hit the home run yet. And the catching actually wasn't necessarily very good. He had the one play that the ball kicked away on what would have been a wild pitch and just bare hands it off the bounce. A fantastic play, made a dart throw to second. So I like that. But the numbers still don't show that he's very good at getting base runners out so far this season. The arm's there, but, there's a lot there. The guy's a hitter. And so I think that's what he likes. I know the Reds announcers made a big deal about how you should run on this guy's basically not good and went a little too far with it, I thought. So I cut it up and made it into a video and put it out on Twitter. If you haven't seen that, or you know what, maybe we'll play the video just to get a clip of it, just to play it on here.
Now, of course, pitchers determine the run game far more than catchers do. But if there is a catcher outside of Augustin Ramirez that profiles as one the Reds might want to run on, it's probably Rafael Flores.
Sliders for most right-handed pitchers.
And this is the play.
Block and a pickup and a fire down. Did he get him? He did. Rafael Flores is fired up. He guns out Friedel.
And the thing is like, I just can't help but notice these things. But Augustin Ramirez from the Marlins just catches a stray in this too. He's just like, oh, by the way, there's one guy that's considered the worst ever. Like, why even bring up Augustin Ramirez right here? What are you trying to do? I didn't really understand why he throws the stray out at him and goes that route. I just don't know. But either way, it was good little redemption or revenge or whatever you want to call it for Flores to get an opportunity to throw a guy out after a situation where he went on and on and on right after that. He said that, but then he went on to talk about the data and how he hasn't thrown anyone out essentially. But I don't know. I thought it was crazy. I thought it was a little bit wild, but it's fine. Listen, short postseason update, and we'll get into ABS here. The Guardians beat the Tigers last night, tonight when I'm recording this, but meaning that they own the tiebreaker between those two teams and they are tied for the division. The Tigers are trying to avoid being the first team since at least 1969. That's all the further I looked back because that's when division play started. So I imagine that this may have happened before then, but they're trying to avoid being the first team since 1969. Since at least 1969, to have a 15-game lead for the division at any point during the season and end up missing the playoffs. It has not happened. Specifically, since the wild card has come in, there have been teams that have lost their division but still gotten in with the wild card, and the Tigers could still do that if Houston doesn't hold up their end of the deal, which right now Houston is. Where's that game? They're losing 4-1 to the A's. So if Houston keeps losing, the Tigers might end up getting in that way. But either way, it is, and that's at the time of recording. I know the Dodgers game's behind me. It's 4-3 Dodgers. They're playing for something. The Padres are up big on the Brewers, or were. I guess that game is over, 7-0. So the Padres are inching closer to the Dodgers, trying to take that division. Dodgers can hold them off. It's been pretty crazy But back to the Tigers, a major collapse for the Tigers, allowing the Guardians back in. And kudos to the Guardians. Without a 10-game win streak, they're not in this spot. But the Tigers had to go 1-9 to get here as well, and it's been more than that since that time. So, it's crazy. At the time of recording this, still the Rockies have a 3-1 lead over the Mariners in the 8th. That's part of the Astros situation as well. But if the Astros don't win, it's just not going to matter. So it's been a fun day keeping an eye on all this stuff and just seeing what happens. But the big ones are over. Obviously, the Reds losing to the Pirates, and then the Mets won their game. They were down 6-1, ended up coming back and winning 9-7. So now they have moved back up into that last spot, and the Reds are a game back. The Reds just have to tie the Mets. They own the tiebreaker. They just have to tie the Mets. So the fact that the Mets win and push the Reds to a game back means the Reds are on the outside looking in right now. So the Yankees are 1 game shy of the Blue Jays as they won and lost in order to make that happen. But let's get into some ABS talk and before we get out of here, because this is kind of the news of the day, really, outside of Pirates fans and Hunter Barco, which was really exciting. ABS challenge system approved for the 2026 season. We are getting the challenge system. I'm actually going to do this. You can tell right out of the gate how I feel about this. But listen, despite Evan Drellick's attempt at clickbait for The Athletic in their article, MLB for now avoids robot umpires. We do not have robot umpires. That is not what this is. This is the challenge system. Both of them are driven by the automatic ball strike system, ABS system, but they are not one and the same. That is wrong. So when we say robot umps are here, we are false. Robot umps is using the ABS system to call every ball and strike, which is boring and stupid. You take catcher skill completely out of the game. You take umpire skill or lack thereof completely out of the game. You take the nuances of pitching, where if you're set up inside and you barely nick the outside corner, well, you missed by a lot. That's probably getting called a ball 9 times out of 10. And then all of a sudden, pitchers are just going to be able to throw it wherever in the world they want, and it won't matter. And so I think there's, I think you're still requiring the pitchers to be able to be smart and go up there and throw good pitches and locate and all that stuff. You're not taking all that stuff away with the boring crap of the robot umps. So instead of that, instead of boring everyone and taking away part of that fabric of the game, we're going to the challenge system. And I think that there's no real evidence that shows we will someday get to full robots. I think the challenge system will be liked. Let's talk a little bit about the challenge system and clear some of this stuff up, because I think I'm already seeing a lot of stuff being talked about and how I think there's maybe some confusion between the two, and that's why I specifically distinct the difference. Challenges can only be called by the pitcher, the catcher, and the hitter. No help from any other players if you're the pitcher. No help from a manager or anyone on the bench. No help. And it's instant. You have to do it right away. Tap on the helmet, tap on the hat. It's immediately is the word that is used. You have to do it right away. You only get 2 misses. Other than that, you can challenge all game. If you continue to get them right, I was at a minor league game one time where I saw 8 consecutive successful challenges. Both teams still sitting there with both challenges moving into the 7th inning when 8 successful challenges. That umpire was having a bad day. Other than that, you can challenge all game. The second miss means you're out. I was also at a game where I saw 2 guys for Cleveland, Brian Rocchio. I forget who the other one was, but in the 2nd inning, they failed their second challenge without getting any of them right. The umpire was right both times, and Columbus was out of challenges for the rest of the game. And so it shows a lot of, once you're out, you can't do it anymore. There are some other rules, and we'll learn more about it as it goes. Sometimes there's a scenario where in the 9th inning, you might get another challenge just the way they do in regular challenges. I do know that they've talked about extra innings where you do get at least one challenge. So if you've run out of challenges, you're granted a challenge for every extra inning. If you still have one left, then if you still have 2 left, then you'll keep your 2. You don't go down to 1, you keep your 2, but you have to at least have 1. So if you have 1 left, you just keep your 1 and the other team gets 1. But let's just stick to regulation now and just kind of get through this. We'll learn more about that. Once it's asked for, the umpire turns around. He announces that there's a challenge. It comes on the loudspeaker for everyone to hear. The batter is challenging the call. Everyone in the stadium gets to see live on the big screen the challenge, the ball come in, where it lands, and you can immediately, you don't have to wait for the umpire. You see it. You immediately hear the call's overturned or the call stands, and then everything changes. It's really quick. It's nothing like the challenges that we've had to adopt. You remember, I mean, when you first got challenges in football, they took forever. They still take forever in football. But in baseball, they were taking a long time, and baseball finally said 2 minutes. If it's not figured out in 2 minutes, the call stands. Hard stop at 2 minutes. And so that's one of the things that they've done to limit how long they take. And this here is really quick. You don't have to worry about that. It also adds a little bit of drama when you're at the game. Another thing to root for. Give the players kudos for getting it right. Heckle the umpire if he's getting a bunch of them wrong. Boo the player who used the last one on a bad challenge. I saw that happen, like I talked about. Brian Roquillo in the 2nd inning used it, and there was a gasp in the home crowd for Columbus. They just couldn't believe it. They were like, what are you doing? And so if you're, it's a unique dynamic. A lot of hitters complain at the plate. Now they'll get a chance to put their money where their mouth is. And I bet you if a guy who's more emotional up there and thinks that it's always a wrong call, they're not going to be allowed to challenge. Their team's going to maybe stop them and say, no. You've lost your right to challenge calls. Hitters will need to, they'll be telling hitters, if it's a bad call on the first strike, you're not challenging it. We can't risk that. Wait until you get 2 strikes, save those, and just in case you're wrong. So you're not going to see every wrong call overturned. You're going to see the egregious ones, the ones that are really bad. You'll get those overturned, but you also get those really important ones. If you think it was just off the zone and you got rung up for strike 3, you're already out. If it's the 6th inning, you might say, you know what? I think it was outside. I'm going to go ahead and challenge because I got a guy on 3rd. You know what I'm saying? That's a big deal. That might be a walk. That might be ball 3. It doesn't matter. You just keep hitting. So I think there's a lot of things there that make it a strategy and you have to be smart. There'll be different players who will be good at it. We're adding a new metric now. I like stats, but you're going to add a new metric of players who have the percentages, their success rate of challenges. It's just one more thing to track when you're looking at things like that. I think there's a lot of ways that this could be pretty cool. You'll see a lot of 2-strike, 3-ball challenges. A 1-1 count, you might see a lot of challenges there if they think they got it wrong. That's a huge swing at the at-bat. That 3rd pitch is a huge pitch. And then we, and obviously for pitch, I'm talking mostly hitters there, but same thing goes for pitchers and catchers. They're going to have that same, they're going to have the same ability to make that impact and also emotionally kind of ruin that. So, what about catchers? That we've been talking about the value of catchers, pitch framing, all that stuff. And I think that a lot of this is, it's dead. You're not even going to have to worry about it anymore. You can put anybody back there. First off, we all know that you still need to be good at blocking. You still need to be good at throwing guys out. And that's not lost on people. They know that. But pitch framing is this art, this skill or this art, I think a lot of catchers would call it, that is just going to go away. It is less about, first off, let's start with this. It's less about stealing strikes, and it's more about getting the strikes on the edge. That's what it's always been about. We talk all the time about, they took that strike. Yeah, those things do happen, but it is mostly and more importantly about getting the strikes that are on the edge, that are over the plate. That's the most important thing with pitch framing because you don't want to lose those. that now becomes more important than ever, possibly, like arguably. A good catcher will limit the amount of challenges that you'll need to request, I guess, or call, whatever, however we use the verbiage. But and the less you challenge, the less you're going to have an opportunity to get wrong. So it also forces the other team. If you've got a guy who is maybe taking a couple of those off the edge, then it might force the other team to challenge more often, meaning they have a better chance of being wrong if it nicks the edge, or if it happens a few times and then you take one that they think is outside, but you actually got the strike on it that did hit the edge, then they're going to start losing challenges. If they run out of challenges, the sooner they run out, the better, because then if there is a bad call, it can go in your favor. They had an opportunity. They had the strategy. They missed it. And so the fact that that comes into play, it's like, no, you had a chance and you blew it. So now it's, like I said, it's a skill to even challenge. And I don't mind when you take skill and you put it into the game and you make it part of the game. There's another game now. The pitch framing skill has, in my opinion, been elevated to this point. There's tangible evidence of it working without digging into metrics the next day, but you can see it right there. Oh, they're challenging a lot and they missed early on. That's good. That's good pitch framing, or an emotional hitter, but for the most part, you understand what I'm saying. So, listen, you may be reluctant about this. You may not, there's been a lot of changes recently, and baseball fans, baseball heads, the sickos that are still listening to this podcast, and I say that lovingly, I would say, but we don't like a lot of change. There hasn't been a lot of change. It's not like the NFL where a million things change every single season and that game doesn't even look like it did 20 years ago. And so, but baseball is starting to implement a lot of things, it seems. And so, like, we could be reluctant to that. We could kind of push that away. And I understand it. There's a lot of things I didn't like. I hated the pitch clock. And what I've seen since they put it in is that they restored a game that I fell in love with, because this is the pace that the game was played when I was a kid. And so there are things like that. I don't like the clock being there. I don't like automatic strikes and balls, but I do like the pace that they're playing with right now. And I think it's good. I thought that it would help pitchers not go max effort. That hasn't happened yet, but maybe there's still, I'm hoping there's a change and we get starting pitchers who are capable to go deep into games again. But right now that's not happening. But either way, this kind of a scenario, it's tough, but, and I'm saying this to say, like, I don't want this. I don't want to go full robot umps ever. And I think there's a lot of conversations that I'm hearing that makes me think that they might not push to that. And I think if people like this, they won't. And I certainly don't want that. I really like the challenge system. It keeps strategy in the game. It keeps the skill levels intact. That kind of stuff is still important to me. And also, I've been at games with this. It's actually adds an element to the live game that's fun. And I think that makes it good. I don't ever want to go to an umpire and not get never want to go to a game and not get an opportunity to root for my guy who doesn't like. There's elements to, if my hitter that I want to get a hit is complaining about the strike zone, I want to let the umpire hear it. It just because it's fun. He knows what the assignment is. You're really backing up your players. I'd hate for things like that to be completely dead. I really do. I'm sure that we're going to get into this change a few times this offseason. Stay tuned for more about that. Let's get out of here now. Must see appointment to television tonight. I know that sounds crazy, but our last big matchup of the year, Paul Skeens, Hunter Green, Reds looking to get back on track, not let their postseason hopes die too early. But losing that game is not a good sign for them with Skeens on the mound. The only thing they can hope is that they limit Skeens to about 4 innings and get him out of the way. But either way, Bucs are making the Reds earn it at least. I love that. Tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about O'Neal Cruz, I think. O'Neal Cruz did some things today. I don't have time for it today. We're going to talk about it tomorrow, and you want to come back for that one tomorrow. Have a great Wednesday. Have a great Skeens Day. Last Skeens Day of the year. Let's go, Bucs.
Thanks for listening to the Bridge to Buctober podcast. Subscribing to your platform of choice is the best way to be notified for new episodes. And now, new episodes every weekday. Remember, live shows with my dad and Uncle Jake are Sundays at 9 p.m. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and join them in the live chat every Sunday. Follow them on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Bridge2 Buctober. Clear the deck. Cannonball coming. And let's go Bucs.